The Utah Mammoth played their most physical game of the year, a 7-4 loss to the Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin scores a hat trick, boatloads of penalty minutes, and a bad result for the Mammoth. We'll talk about all this, plus a spicy NHL trade rumor that has Utah's name written all over it. It's all coming up on this episode of SLC Puck, so cue the music, because here we go. What's up, everybody? Good morning, and welcome to SLC Puck. This is a rare one for SLC Puck. We're recording this in the morning time. It's barely still the morning. It's about 10 to 11 right now. A little bit different from our usual recording cadence, where we record Monday night, Thursday night. We're here on Friday morning because the Mammoth played a game last night that was so physically taxing and so grueling that I didn't have the energy to hop on the microphone after the game and give you all my spicy hot takes. In fact, I woke up sore and tired today just from watching last night's game. We'll get into that. I'm your host, Austin Facer. Thank you so much for joining me on SLC Puck. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, support our great sponsors, Jonathan's Jewelry. Scan that QR code in the corner that you see if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening in your car or whatever on your audio player, on your lunch break, hiding from your boss, go to the link. Maybe you'll win a frickin' gift card or something, you know. Sorry, I'm a little bit irritable because last night's game was tough. I hope the Mammoth can find it to be a learning moment because I think they lost their composure a little bit, and I think that certainly had an impact on the game. I can understand it, though. I can completely understand the emotions that happened in that game. There were a ton of very upsetting moments, but yeah, it was a very, very interesting game. Washington Capitals against the Utah Mammoth. Tom Wilson all over the ice, throwing big hits. Well, you know it's funny when I say all over the ice, he spent most of the game, more time in the penalty box than he did on the ice. And the Utah Mammoth kind of made that the focal point of the game, and I think they might have forgotten to score some goals along the way. I think that was, it's funny. I took my girlfriend, who's from Jamaica. She doesn't have much of a hockey background. She's learning on the fly by being with me, and we went to the game last night. And I leaned over and asked him. I asked her, I was like, "What do you think is going on?" She's like, "I think they're too focused on fighting and not enough on scoring." And I could certainly see how someone could feel that way. There were a couple moments that sort of prompted this in last night's game. If you watch the game, on SEG Plus or Mammoth Plus or wherever you find Mammoth games, you would probably agree with me. But it all kind of started early in the game. Brandon Tanev boards Matt Waugh in the corner, and both Tom Wilson and Trevor Van Riemsdyk go after him here. Let's put the replay up on Puck Vision in case you missed this. This is early in the game. Well, I shouldn't say earlier, but about a minute 30 to go in the first period. Utah's up 2-1 at this point, bear in mind. And we'll just see this. This is where the chaos begins right here. Brandon Tanev boarding right straight from behind. Waugh's head goes into the boards first, and then his teammates respond. Tom Wilson grabs Tanev, as does Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Tom Wilson gets a bigger chunk out of him, tries to fight Tanev. He's yelling all kinds of I'm going to say not kind things at Brandon Tanev, and perhaps a little deserved. It was definitely a very clear boarding by Tanev. But that sort of like kicked off a series of events for Utah that didn't go their way. Keep in mind, they're winning at this point. They would add another goal to extend their lead to 3-1. But from that point forward, with Tom Wilson in the penalty box as he was for the majority of the game, he was the dominating figure in this one, and they let a guy who wasn't on the ice very much kind of dictate the action. And you can see here, let's just go back to the box score, to the play-by-play here. It was very, very interesting. I'm just going to pull up penalties here. Penalties. What'd they give Wilson on this one? Is this where he got his misconduct? So they give Tom Wilson a roughing and then a misconduct on that. So he's out for 10 minutes. His next shift out on the ice, or maybe one or two after, Tom Wilson in the second period goes out and absolutely annihilates Jack McBain. We'll just show you the replay on that one. Very dirty hit. Makes Utah answer for the hit on Waugh. See here, this was so egregious. Jack McBain goes in the corner to retrieve a puck, start the breakout in the defensive zone, and then Tom Wilson comes barreling in. And I freezed it right here because I want you to notice something. Tom Wilson's feet are on the ice right there. Skates are on, blades are on the ice. He's going to elevate. See, and you can see right here. He went airborne through a flying elbow right into Jack McBain's head. Took him out, added a little extra, probably said some very not kind things there. McBain is down, clearly hurt. Thank goodness he had the bubble. Otherwise, like if he's not wearing the bubble in this one, his nose goes into his brain right here. You can see the fans are reacting behind Jack McBain. It was a monstrous hit, dirty play. The NHL went to replay. They reduced that. They called a penalty on that. They took it to replay, reduced it to just a 2-minute interference, which I think was a bad call. Most hockey analysts were saying this was uncalled for. See Ryan Bosworth here, who covers the Bruins, even wrote, yeah, everything's wrong with this. Besides it being late, he's leaving his feet, elbow flying out, 2 major issues, but only 2 minutes in the box for Tom Wilson. So after that, Utah's like, okay, we got to retaliate for that one. The second Tom Wilson leaves the penalty box, he's met by Lawson Krause, who, gets him in a fight. Ends up losing it. They both take their lumps, right? Wilson and Krause had a good bout, but they send Krause not only to the box, not only for the fighting major, they give him a 2-minute instigator and a 10-minute misconduct in that one, effectively ruling him out for the entirety of the third period. Jack McBain also was involved in that. He was, I guess you could say, a little bit provoked by Tom Wilson. Apparently, Tom Wilson blew him a kiss from the penalty box, and that set Boehner off. He tries to get involved. He chases Wilson into the penalty box and gets a 10-minute misconduct for that. So then at that point, if you're doing the math, Utah is down 2 of their centers for the third period. Washington takes advantage of that, outscores Utah 4-1 in the third, claims a 7-4 victory. Alex Ovechkin gets a hat trick in this one. It wasn't even the primary focus of the game. I thought Brogan Houston from the Deseret News had a really, really solid write-up on this one. I think he encapsulated the entire moment. And let's just read Brogan. Brogan's I am a huge fan of Brogan. I think he's our most talented hockey writer in the market. Let's just read him here. Rodney Dangerfield once gave a quote that perfectly characterizes Thursday's game between the Utah Mammoth and the Washington Capitals at the Delta Center. I went to a fight the other night and a hockey game broke out. Ha ha ha. Very good, Brogan. He said, on Thursday, Washington's Tom Wilson set a new career high in single-game penalty minutes with 21. He's known as one of the most physical players in the NHL and has more than 1,600 penalty minutes. But this was the game that got him fired up the most. Utah's Brandon Tanev also set a career high with 17 penalty minutes. And Lawson, the Sheriff Krause, had 17 for his second highest PIM game ever. But Mammoth head coach Andre Tourigny, and this is where I think Andre Tourigny saw the same thing that I saw, the same thing that my girlfriend saw in the stands. Andre Tourigny was frustrated with the lack of discipline with his group in the 7-4 loss. Krause got the extra penalty in a fight with Wilson, which resulted in the Capitals' go-ahead goal, and the Mammoth never got the lead back. Bear in mind, Jack McBain also got a 10-minute misconduct. I'm disappointed in how we controlled our emotions, Tourigny said. I'm a big believer in team toughness and showing up for your teammates and stuff like that. But there's a way to do it. And the more important thing is that we got carried away emotionally. It's part of the game, but you need to stay composed and you need to keep playing. And then Brogan continues to recap everything. And just for the fun of it, everybody, because I know you're interested. I know you like, all the wonderful visual components here. This is Tom Wilson coming out of the box in the third period after laying that hit on Jack McBain late in the second. You can see here, if you're looking at the score, you might notice Washington has tied the game at this point, and this is where things really went wrong for Utah here. Washington's at full strength. The penalty box door is open right now. Tom Wilson's on the ice. Lawson Crouse greets him immediately. They start their fight. The fans are into it. It was an emotional game. It was kind of fun. I'll say that. As like a spectator, it was a riot. I had a ton of fun watching this game. Had the result gone better, I think I would have left the building elated. See right there, that's where Tom Wilson blows the kiss at Jack McBain. The Capitals are loving it. You can see after each fight, and there were a couple of these and a couple of really physical moments, all the Capitals cleared the bench to come out and congratulate their teammate. There's Lawson Crouse, jawing at Tom Wilson. You see here the Capitals, they're going out to greet their teammate. Jack McBain right there, he's responding to Tom Wilson. They're going to put him in the box right there. So Utah goes down 2 centers. Their lines get totally screwed up the rest of the way. Washington takes advantage of the fact that Utah's lineup is now a big mess, a big, fat, stinky mess. They score 4 goals in the third period to take the win. Alex Ovechkin gets a hat trick. If you were a Capitals fan at the game, and I saw a few of you guys, and if you're here on the show, throw me subscribe anyway. I know this is a Mammoth-led program, but subscribe to the show anyway. You probably left the arena feeling like pretty elated, pretty over the moon. Everybody on Washington did their job. They got goals from their depth guys. A fella, Ivan Miroshnichenko, and that was a complete guess. I'm sure I said his name wrong. His name was so long they had to put the smaller lettering on the back of his uniform. He scores 2 in just 9 minutes and 45 seconds of ice time. Ovechkin has double that amount of ice time, scores a hat trick, cashes in on 3 goals on 5 shots. Meanwhile, Utah kept at bay for the most part. Dylan Guenther scored 2 goals in the first period. I was getting ready to throw my Big Tusk Energy hat onto the ice. It had a Tusky fella on it, and we'll talk more about the Tuskies here in a moment. But a disappointing game for Utah. The temperature was so high in the building as it was, and then it went full steam, full boil, and didn't go Utah's way. 2 very desperate teams playing in last night's game. Mammoth, obviously over their last 10, they've only collected regulation wins in 3, with 1 overtime loss. So they've seen their lead in the wild card race for the first wild card spot in the Stanley Cup playoffs evaporate a little bit. They're still holding it for now. Let's just check in on the standings. But we can see here that teams are starting to close the gap, especially a team that we had written off for weeks now. The Washington Predators, they went on a 5-game tear, picked up 10 points real quick, and now they are trailing the Mammoth by just 3 points for that first wildcard spot. Right now, Washington's holding that second spot with 77 points. Luckily for Utah, Nashville lost last night, so they cooled off just a bit. But had Nashville won, holy cow, this would be full panic mode. There would just be a 1-point separation. We'll get more into the standings here in just a minute. Let's just let our good friends Craig Swap have a word here, and then we'll be right back to check in on standings and talk about some other fun stuff as well.
Hurt in a car wreck, dog bite, slip and fall. Just call Craig Swap. One call, that's all.
After a car wreck, dealing with big insurance companies on your own can hurt your case. One call, that's all means we take care of everything, From dealing with insurance companies to helping you find doctors and repair shops, we're here to guide you from start to finish. Call Craig Swap & Associates today at 801-444-4444.
One call, that's all.
And we're back. You know what I was just noticing about that Craig Swap ad? Their number is 801-444-4444. That's pretty awesome. One call, when you combine like one call, that's all, like, which is a very good tagline, with that phone number, 801-444-4444, they've got quite a good little branding package right there. So, and those guys clearly know what they're doing. If you have any injury law concerns, make sure you give them a buzz. So we appreciate their support of the show. Back to the standings. And again, we're not in full panic mode yet, but we're starting to understand, if we didn't already, where there's less than 10 games remaining, every single one of these games is going to be incredibly, incredibly important. And with the exception of just a couple of Utah's remaining 9 games, they're going to face very desperate, very hungry teams the rest of the way. And we have the standings pulled up. Until they play teams that have an E next to them for elimination, and they only have one of those left because there's only been two teams now that have been eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Vancouver Canucks being the one, the New York Rangers being the other. Utah plays Vancouver on April 4th on the road up in BC. But the rest of the way, Utah is playing teams that are already trying to jostle for position in the Stanley Cup playoffs or trying to scratch and claw their way into the postseason. And you can expect very, very, very physical games, very emotional games the rest of the way. I hope Utah takes this as a learning moment, the game last night against Washington, and keeps themselves in check a little bit better because as you can look at the standings and just try to understand just the emotions behind each of these games. Okay, you can see look who's the first team out of the Western Conference playoffs right now. It's our good friends, the Los Angeles Kings, a team Utah has not played well against historically. Oh, guess what? That's a desperate team. They're crazy. They're nuts. They're gonna do everything they can to stay alive. Utah, guess what? You're playing them next game in Los Angeles, March 28th on Saturday. That's going to be a bonkers game. Seattle, oh my gosh, they're the team after that. Guess what, Utah? You're playing them the game after that, April 2nd, up in the Emerald City. Whew, that's going to be a madhouse. The crackheads are going to be going crazy for that one. You play Vancouver on April 4th, but that's after you played 3 incredibly physical games, Washington, Los Angeles, and Seattle. That's a trap game. They can't look past that one at all. And then, oh my gosh, the Edmonton Oilers, who are also, peaking at a good time. They just kicked Utah's butts as well in their last matchup. 4-0 tilt for the Oilers. I believe that was the score. If I was wrong, if I'm wrong, please correct me. That's who Utah plays after that. Their next game back at Delta Center on April 7th. And then, oh my God, the Nashville Predators on April 9th. The very dangerous Carolina Hurricanes, who have basically locked up that top spot in the Metropolitan Division, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That's who they're facing on April 11th. Calgary, a team that's out of it, but that's a potential trap game. That this is incredibly crucial to grab these 2 points, get a win, hopefully in regulation. But they play them on the road on April 12th. I'm sure Calgary would love to play spoiler for that one. And then Winnipeg, a team right behind Seattle on April 14th. St. Louis, team not yet eliminated, but they're on the verge of it. I think you could say, looking at the standings, on April 16th, the regular season finale. You're gonna look at a number and probably, feel like, things are all right for Utah. Like you can, it's not as critical as it may seem. And that number that you're seeing, I'm putting this up on tankathon.com on here on the Puckovision screen. Utah right now has the 5th easiest remaining schedule in terms of strength of schedule to finish out the year. But bear in mind, like, they're playing desperate teams, very desperate teams. Los Angeles has the easiest strength of schedule. They could rack up points very quickly and find their way back into the wild card race. I mean, there's potential they could leapfrog Nashville and then hopefully not Utah. So by no means can Utah take their foot off the gas at any point. This is still like a very critical stretch. They don't have an X next to their name in the standings. They haven't clinched a spot yet in the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's a lot on the line here. They need better goaltending. Vitek Vanacek was bad against Washington. It was a game that Utah dominated, and they needed to get these 2 points. You can see here on Puckovision, moneypuck.com says Utah deserved to win that game 81-19, but the ice tilted the other way for Washington with all those trips to the penalty box that Utah made, having two of their, I guess you could say their first line center, their second line center, or second and third, depending on which order you want to put it in the penalty box for the entirety of the third period, tilted the ice the other way for Washington. Utah should have won this game. Just a couple other thoughts. I thought Daniil Boot looked out of place in last night's game. That's a big problem for Utah as well. They need him to kick it into gear if he's to replace Barrett Hayton down the stretch. Who knows what Utah can or should do to shore up some of these gaps in the lineup. But like, again, they can't have two of their guys, most critical guys, taking penalties and going, I guess you could say, almost unnecessarily to the penalty box for a huge chunk of the third period where they lost this game. Let's just take a second here to get so just be on alert, okay? I know we spent so much time getting excited about the possibility of Utah going to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I think they're right. It's still more likely than not. We'll just put Money Puck up again. They still have an 87.2% chance going to the playoffs, right? So we were feeling good. I don't think these numbers, though, keep in mind the desperation of the teams Utah will be facing the rest of the way. So I'm not buying that number as much as I was earlier. But that number, that went down considerably over the last couple games. I think it was as high as 94% not too long ago. And these numbers are changing quite a bit as well. Utah's chances of securing the first wild card spot, which would be the more desirable position, fallen now to just 70.3. I think it was as high as 80 in the 80s or something earlier this week when I was checking. So, if you're Utah, don't look at these numbers at all. If you're one of the players who listens to the show, and I hope a couple do, I hope a couple of your wives and or girlfriends watch the show as well. Don't worry. Don't be threatened. I'm fine. I'm taken. You have a happier life with your man who plays in the NHL. It's just the way it is. But don't look at these numbers and think this is a time to take your foot off the gas. It's not. It's not. Utah needs to stay composed. They need to put pucks on net. They need to find the back of the net. They need to score goals. They need to stay out of the penalty box. They need to keep their emotions under control and just take care of business. And I think I feel encouraged by the fact that Andre Tourigny recognized that, and I think that's a message that he's going to communicate to the team. Let's just talk for just one quick second about our good friends over at Jonathan's Jewelry, Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers. Those guys rock. All you got to do to take advantage of a little sale. This is easy. It's the easiest thing you'll ever do. Just go into either one of those locations. Tell them that you're a listener of SLC Puck. They'll knock $100 off of your purchase of anything in either one of those locations. Jonathan's Jewelry, that's in Cottonwood Heights, right next to a Play It Again Sports. So go grab some Frisbees to go enjoy the great weather, and then head over to Jonathan's Jewelry. Tell them you're a listener of the show. They'll knock $100 off of a nice little diamond pendant for your lady friend. That would be great. Or, go to Payne Anthony Creative Jewelers at Charlie Square. Do the same thing. If you want to win even bigger, we're giving away a gift card to either one of those locations, $250 gift card for every episode of the show. So all you got to do is just scan this QR code and hit send on the message that you're prompted to send. You'll be entered to win. Grab your phone, grab your spouse's phone, your girlfriend's phone, grab your kid's phone. I know you kids have phones nowadays, which horrible idea. I should add, you're a bad parent if you give your kid a phone, but you can make up for it by using their phone to scan the QR code, win a gift card, and buy something nice for their mom. So that's one way to look at it. We appreciate Jonathan's Jewelry, Payne Anthony Crib Jewelers for their support of SLC Puck. And let's just close out here today's show. We've talked about this man in the past, and I have given him a nickname that is both childish and fun, that I'm very proud of, because childish and fun, that's kind of our MO on this show. He's our good friend, Howard Berger, up in Toronto, friend of the show, friend of the pod. I've given him the nickname of Cheeseburger because the last time we talked about this fella, he said something so preposterous that I felt like a childish nickname was fitting and deserving for Mr. Berger. I'm sure he's a great guy. He's a longtime hockey writer, hockey expert, up in Toronto. And the last time we spoke about, him and his reporting, he was saying that Toronto was in the conversation to land Mikhail Sergachev over the summer as a trade acquisition. Which, oh my God, Howard Berger, Cheeseburger, did that happen? Heck no, it didn't. And we called it from the get-go. We said, this is preposterous. This won't happen. I don't know what Cheeseburger's smoking, but it ain't a thing. This time, however, I feel a little bit differently about his reporting. I like it more. I think it makes more sense on the surface level, and perhaps maybe this is just surface level reporting. But we've talked a little bit about this on SLC Puck Plus. By the way, subscribe to the Patreon. That all these stars of Canadian teams are going to try to have a mass exodus from the Great White North. I think Connor McDavid, unless something dramatic changes in Edmonton, maybe they make a miraculous run to the Stanley Cup, to winning the Stanley Cup. I think he's going to leave Edmonton soon, maybe not this summer, but definitely the next after his contract expires. There's increasing rumors that Brady Tkachuk wants out of Ottawa and perhaps could force his way to play with his brother down in Florida. That would be a big moment for the NHL, and I think that's not impossible, and I think that conversation may have been had as well. But the other one that we've talked about a lot is my guy, Auston Matthews, spells his name dumb. It's I-N, not O-N, Mr. Matthews. But I think he's out of Toronto. I think a lot of people think that that's a very real possibility. He injured his knee on a dirty hit from Radko Gudas. And I wasn't choking up there. Sorry, I just had a little something in my throat. Earlier, not too long ago, he's going to miss the remainder of the season. MCL tear, quad contusion, real bad, right? So his teammates didn't stand up for him. It's been a tough year in Toronto dealing with the aftermath of the Mitch Marner debacle. They're going to miss the playoffs as well. It's a horrible place to play, Toronto. Like the media pressure, the fan pressure is too much. Like it's excessive. It's the number one game in town, and it's like a religion there. So it's a lot of pressure. And when things don't go well, you get death threats. You get all that up in Toronto. This is not conjecture. This is fact. It happens. Howard Berger is in agreement that Auston Matthews is going to try to depart the Toronto Maple Leafs. And here's a tweet here. And I think Cheeseburger's on the right track here. Good source here, says Howard Cheeseburger. Take it as you wish. Auston Matthews will be traded this summer to either the LA Kings, Anaheim Ducks, or Utah Mammoth. He won't be back next season. Doesn't sound particularly far-fetched. I don't disagree with Cheeseburger at all on this one. I don't think it sounds far-fetched at all. And you might think it's interesting. You might go, okay, so he wants some sunshine. He's a fashion guy. Southern California, from Toronto. That seems like a pretty good move, right? I mean, Mitch Marner goes to the desert. He gets to play golf. He gets to play in a much easier hockey market. So, Auston Matthews to Southern California makes a lot of sense. What is Utah doing in this conversation? Well, I think there's a few things in play, and they make sense to me. There has been such a legitimate, hardcore push from the Mammoth and folks in the media who the Mammoth are entertaining very well. And this is something that you have to tip your hat to Ryan Smith and the organization for making this happen, controlling the narrative this way. And I think it is true. Utah is been in the news so much as a potential future preferred destination for NHL players. I think that when you combine the facility, the fan support, the fact that the team has the resources and the desire to win, I think that all makes sense. I could see that being a very desirable situation for a player wanting to escape all the unpleasantries of playing in Toronto, the capital of the hockey world. But why Utah? It's not just that. I think we need to bear in mind that there's a relationship component here. From what I can observe, have noticed a very strong connection between two captains, Auston Matthews and Clayton Keller. They are boys. There are many, many pictures of them together. Auston Matthews, an Arizona native, and Clayton Keller, who still has family in Arizona, a lot of friends down there. He played with the Coyotes for years. I probably still owns property down there in the Phoenix area. They're tight. They hang out a lot. They skate off the ice in Arizona together. Like, it's just here. Like, it's like, this is well known. You can see, you search both of them, Clayton Keller, Auston Matthews. You can see here, Clayton Keller, Auston Matthews are elite American NHL forwards with a long-standing friendship and chemistry. And bear in mind, they both played on the Olympic team together, often training together in Arizona during the summer. They first bonded at the U.S. National Development Team program, winning gold at the 2015 Under-18 Championship, and they skate off. And you can see here more connections and chemistry. All-star teammates. Matthew drafted Keller to his team for the 2024 NHL All-Star Game in Toronto. Summer training, the duo frequently trains together in Arizona, where Matthews grew up and where Keller spent the early part of his career. International play, mutual respect. They're homies, they're buddies. They both have an interest in dressing well, the fashion game, the hype beast game. By the way, guys, if you want a shirt, let me know. I'll give you a promo code. This one makes sense to me. And I think if you're Bill Armstrong and you're looking at a situation, a guy who's potentially on the market and may never be cheaper than he is right now, the asking price on him might be pretty low, especially if he tries to strong arm his way out. He had a down year. He's going to be very disgruntled. He doesn't want to play in Toronto next season. This might be the opportunity to strike. The iron might be very hot here. So I think Cheeseburger's on the right track. If he's right about this, I will rescind the nickname. As much as I love it, we'll come up with something else. How about Delicious Cheeseburger? How about we'll call you Bacon Cheeseburger, which is even better. I think that's what we'll go with, Cheeseburger. But I don't think that there's nothing here. This is not a nothing burger. I think there's something here, and we'll keep an eye on it as we go. But hey, big thanks to you guys for tuning in again. I know the timing is a little bit off on this. I hope it didn't throw everything off. But hey, enjoy SLC Puck. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday. We'll be checking in on Utah's game against the Kings and any other outcomes that come their way. Don't forget to support our sponsors as well. We support them so much. We love them. We appreciate them. We appreciate you. We'll talk soon.